for analysis on the matter, we're joined by legal analyst Khumisi Kganare. Mr. Kganare, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon and thanks for inviting me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So the appearance was brief as expected, with just the formalities of reading the suspects' names and charges onto the court record. But what did you make of the overall proceedings?
I mean, some may view it as something that, caught everyone off guard and by surprise. But, at least for once in so many matters we have seen previously, the state has been somewhat quiet working on this matter, and they only decided to then get it off the ground when they were confident that they have what it takes then to prosecute the accused persons in the matter.
Now that you've touched on that matter, the strategy that they decided to use in this particular case, some have welcomed that, praised them for that, but others have criticized it to say, in such a high-profile case, you need to inspire some level of confidence. You cannot be quiet for a year with no update. That perhaps that was a disservice for them to a certain extent because there was a lot of criticism. It was now actually 13 months and very little had been said. You're still somebody that commends the use of this strategy and not buckling under the pressure to inform us at every step.
Yeah, personally, I commend it. Look, being silent doesn't mean that you're not doing anything in the background. And, it's a good thing, perhaps, we'll see as this matter unfolds, that you have to really come out when you are ready to then prosecute. Because we've seen, some processes being driven by excitement and hype, and merely because it's a high-profile matter, then you get the case going to court when it's not even ready for prosecution. So maybe with this one, we'll see something different that they have been quiet and working in the background. And only now, when they believe the matter is ripe for prosecution, then they're coming out with it. And you will note that even the postponement, two reasons for postponement. One was that it's just for verification, really, for people that are going to be applying for bail in the matter, just to know where they stay and addresses where they're going to be released to. That's if they get the bail in this matter.
But some are still of the view that perhaps they weren't ready, nevertheless, to actually take this matter to court at this point. It was perhaps the pressure from Swaziland that then had that expose on the matter.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you would recall that even with the Swati government, it's a request they got from the South African police services to say this is where we are with the process, and we need you to arrest these two people. So we may, on our end, then get the matter off the ground. Maybe it's the noise that Swati then made around this matter that also sort of pushed them to really come out and do something about it. But you can only arrest people when you are ready to take them to court. Now, and that must happen within 48 hours of you having arrested them. My apologies.
No problem. Now to the court proceedings. There was a lot of back and forth on the suspects wearing masks before the magistrate ruled that they should take them off. Under which circumstances would mask wearing be permissible in an open court sitting?
Look, there's a process. You would first have to be identified. You would have to, be confident that the person before it is the accused, is the right accused person. So maybe after identifying the person, then you can continue with wearing your mask as an accused person, or even, hiding your face, whatever the case may be. But you have to be identified properly and registered and processed accordingly. And then after that, you can decide to then, hide your face. But you cannot hide your face before being processed and identified in terms of court process.
And then back to the extradition process. It's now the focal point, of course. It's not a one-day matter, as many people know. Can you just take us through the process that our prosecution team will now embark upon?
Yes, I mean, ordinarily, governments have somewhat of arrangements when it comes to extradition, and it differs from one country to another. We know with bigger countries sometimes it takes a bit longer, and also depending on their processes on the other side and red tape and all those things. But we got assurance, at least from the little information that I got, that there's somewhat of an assurance from the Swati government that we are going to be receiving our accused persons very, very soon, which I think they indicated in about a week or so.
Mm-hmm. But that's if we comply with everything that is needed on our part. But ideally, one would want to try suspects to one case all at the same time. Should it take longer than expected, would there be no problem in the pair joining the proceedings later, or they would have to be tried separately so as to not violate the other accused's right to a speedy trial?
Yeah, sure. Ideally, you would want to have everyone under the same roof, and you prosecute them accordingly. But if you can't, you can't. And those that cannot join us now, let them, not derail us from getting the matter off the ground. There are other processes in terms of which we can join accused persons, or we can separate the trials, which wouldn't be ideal really to separate them. Or even postpone, perhaps, to say we have gone this far with the ones that we have. May we stay the process in abeyance while we bring the other two up to speed, and then we can move with everyone under the same roof, under the same process going forward. So we can't predict that from the word go.
Mm-hmm. Now, Khumisi, in closing, though many have welcomed the arrest, the question of the mastermind still lingers in the back. Many say it would be a travesty of justice if the person who hatched this elaborate plan is not brought to book or get to be tried and prosecuted along with the others, possibly convicted.
Yeah, I mean, this is again something that only this process will assist us, will really clear it up, whether or not we are able, to get to the real mastermind, if at all there is such an individual. If the people that are there and, none of them is the mastermind, and none of them says anything about whoever appointed them or employed them to do this, and then unfortunately we will not be able to get to that person unless there's evidence that sort of links us. For instance, if you look at bank statements and payments that we are told were moving between the accused persons, as their reward for having done this. And any other documentary evidence that we can lay our hands on, or any witness that might want to come, as indicated by SABC, that look, even later we may have to add other people, perhaps as accused persons or as witnesses to the matter. So it really depends on how the matter will be carried out, and we might or might not get to who that person is behind the scenes, if at all there is such an individual.
But would that not be a travesty of justice? Because right now, when listening to the police, they say they do not know what the motive is. But surely there would have been a motive if at the very least they've gone out to the public and stated that indeed AKA was the target. Yes.
And I mean, look, even the charge itself, I learned this morning that, one of the charges is conspiracy. And I mean, with conspiracy, we're talking premeditated murder, meaning this was planned, and there must be a reason why, motive, why this was then planned, targeted at the late AKA. And for that reason alone, we already know there is someone behind this thing that planned, that wanted AKA gone. So it's not just a culpable homicide issue where somebody was killed by mistake, or murder, which was just a spur of a moment thing. So we're going to have to get down to those, details as the trial unfolds.
So one asks again, would this be the correct strategy to employ, where you now say we will prosecute those that we have and allow for whatever court proceedings take place to perhaps unearth a motive and even a mastermind? Or this matter was actually not ripe for hearing at this point?
I think the only thing that complicates it really is, the two individuals that are not in the country now. And again, it's a question of strategy. It might compromise you a little bit if you proceed with a few, accused persons, and there are 2 more that still needs to be brought up to speed. You'll never know what information, moves around as you prosecute on the side. What happens then with the other 2 that are not yet, in the process and prosecuted. So it's a question of strategy. And for me, ideally, I would prefer if everyone is there and the process starts with all of them, in the box. But again, we know there's 6, but there's an understanding there might be more. Then what do you do in that situation? But with the 6 that we have, I would prefer we start with the people that we have.